Hello, I'm Novelette and welcome to Morgen Talk. My guest today is City of Torrance Councilmember Chen, who is running for mayor in the November 2022 election. Today we'll talk a bit more about what he considers a strong and safe community and why Torrance is the new Silicon Valley in the South Bay. Please stay tuned for more. Hello, Councilman Chen. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Thank you so much for talking with us today. All right.
Appreciate
so,
it.
first question I'd like to ask you. I took a look on your website. So, under strong and safe community, you noted that to create a coalition or committee consisting of local law enforcement, academia, and agencies to put security systems in place to migrate incidents in schools, malls, parks, and refinery. With the Black Lives Matters movement and the Chevron verdict, do you think Torrance PD would benefit from reforming?
Thank you for the question. And I think the word is to mitigate incidences as opposed to migrate.
Yes, of course. Thanks for the correction.
I actually think that every organization has room for improvement. Just like you're in the real estate business, and I'm assuming that those folks in your line of business is always looking for a way to improve your business, get more customer outreach, maybe do interviews like this. Hopefully you'll get more attraction. So to me, in your real estate business, you're looking for different ways to improve your business. I'm going to stay away from using the word reform because I believe that word is thrown out very prevalent without going into one or three layers. But what does that really mean then? The way I look at it is, the way I wrote that is, I come from a Raytheon company and we develop defense systems to protect the military, protect our nation. And coming with that point of view, what I'm really getting at is the police department, the FBI, CIA, other agencies to get together, talk about what is the latest toolkit in the toolbox we can use to provide public safety. Those are the kind of things that I'm thinking about. Reform is a different way. Some people say reform means one thing or the other. I look at continuous improvement. You look at ways how to get customer contact to make sales, if you will. The way I look at it is, for example, a couple of years ago, I looked at something that's already available. The Ring doorbell video camera. I don't know if you have one. I looked at it. I have one in my house. I talked with the Torrance police chief at the time, Chief Berg. I said, would you please just take a look at it? There's an app called Neighbors app. It's platform agnostic, meaning you could have a Ring doorbell, you could have Arlo, you could have Nest. It doesn't matter. You could sign in, and in the neighborhood, you could look at each other's video, and as a crime prevention, let's call it electronic neighborhood watch. So that's actually, if you're looking at my website, you'll see that Torrance PD looked at the tool and say, hey, that's another tool in the toolkit that we will do. So Torrance PD sign on to it. So if you have a porch robber or a thief in front of your house is on your camera, you can send that to Torrance PD. Not that they'll catch them every time, but at least you get some video evidence. But you opt in if you want to show your video to the police department. And after a few catches like that, then the burglars will know that, hey, we are watching. Then becomes crime mitigation. Because if they know that they could be caught, then they may think twice before they do it. That's what I'm thinking is there's different innovation, there's different tools of use. Reform, a lot of time, it's the way I hear with the Derek Chauvin case or the Black Lives Matter, a lot of time we're talking about the end game. And what I mean by the end game is we're talking about the final encounter of a person likely in the act of a criminal activity, and we're trying to mitigate that due to some call. those things happen very quickly. And with the Derek Chauvin case, it eventually went to the court of law and went through the due process, and the verdict was given, which I believe is the way we have to do it. Regardless of those who likes the outcome of the verdict, at least it went through due process because that's the way it should be. A lot of times what we gotta do is we still have to look at the front end. The best way is don't commit the crime in the first place, because at the end, and that's easier said than done. I understand that, but really, law enforcement typically responds to a call that crime in action. And then if something happens, then you go to court. But I think a lot of time, we gotta talk about maybe family reform, getting parental guidance back into the household to raise our children from the early age so that as they go into adulthood, what is responsible behavior? So you reduce the chance of that type of encounter with the law enforcement. Law enforcement, just like your business or city council, we should always be looking at different ways to improve. But unless you're in that business, it's hard to tell someone else to improve. It's difficult for me to tell you how to sell a house better because I'm not in that business. But if someone else was to tell me and say, hey, this is the way you should design and build a radar, who's never built a radar from Raytheon, you would say, yeah, it's easy to say when you're in the grandstands, but it's very different when you're in the arena. So reform, I didn't want to say reform, but I think there's always room for improvement, how to do our jobs better.
Okay, good. All right, so now with safety top of mind for the Torrance Refinery, do you see any safety concerns surrounding MHF, which is a modified hydrofluoric acid?
That question was asked of me actually a couple of years ago, and after studying it, visiting the refinery, looking at what they have done since then, my response is still very much the same as before. Safety is always a concern, use MHF. But there are, I would say, without making light of it, there are a lot of household chemicals that you use at home that are very dangerous. And your Drano, your liquid plumber, if you will, those are dangerous as well. I know the incident, the explosion in 2015, and the fact that the refinery is such a large real estate in the city, it could cause some alarm. After I went through the refinery, took a tour, look at how all the operation is done, the way I see it is they're under monitoring very closely by the AQMD and California Office of Safety and Health, OSHA agency. So every week and every month, they have rigorous reports on what they're doing, safety stats, what kind of additional mitigation steps they're putting in. The way I see it is there are a lot of things that are dangerous. And I would say the refining business is a dangerous process. But as long as Cal OSHA has certified that for all the employees within the fence line of the refinery, it's safe for them to go to work every day, then I believe it's safe enough for the residents outside the fence line as well. Nothing is 100%, but the mitigation steps are put in, looks like they are good. And it's no different than, you and I talking or me driving to City Hall today. There are risks. What the key thing is, how do you minimize the risks to mitigate a hazard? So I believe we're doing well right now. They're constantly being monitored. All the data are shown. So it's safe enough for those inside the fence line. It's safe for those outside the fence line.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. All right, then another question I want to ask you. You're quoted on your website again as calling Torrance the Silicon Valley in the South Bay. How do you envision that? How does that look?
The way I see that is, the Silicon Valley that we typically call is in the San Jose area, NorCal. And as I think about it, we have a lot of students, graduates from, I'll just pick two big universities locally, whether it's UCLA, which is my alma mater, or USC. A lot of graduates graduate from these two major universities, and we actually have some great universities, even at the Cal State. You got Cal State Dominguez, Fullerton, LA, Long Beach. And a lot of these graduates, when they graduate, a lot of times they go to NorCal and work in Silicon Valley. So really the idea is we have talent locally. The thing is, after they graduate, we need to have some environment for that to house them so they could have technology startup. It's like, Twitter or Uber or something like that. We need to have an environment where we can, I would say, incubate technology, have some technology innovation challenges so that the young people, as they graduate, they have a place where they can exercise some of their ingenuity. And then some of the local places, even the aerospace companies, Amazon's already have a big warehouse here in Torrance. And we just need one breakthrough technology or business innovation idea. And that just puts you on the map. But we just need to create an environment and having a safe community for these graduates to live in. Because Southern California, I would say, or Torrance, is actually one of the best places to live, work, and play. If you talk about, I talked about safety, I talked about weather, talk about schools. Those are sort of like the three big pillars when someone's trying to, establish their family. Once you have an environment like that, then you can allow them, the young students, the freedom to innovate, to explore and try new things. And I believe, Torrance is the place to incubate that. And then you can't force technology breakthrough, but you can incubate and provide an environment so that a technology or business breakthrough can happen. That's the idea. So to have, that we would be in the forefront as opposed to the follower.
Gotcha. Okay, that's a good idea. The only issue though is how we have a housing issue still. And we have people who have to commute out of the area. The majority are commuting out to get to housing. I suppose that's something else we'll have to work on. And I don't know, creating more homes for people who want to work in the area. How's that looking on your end so far?
Well, it's interesting you asked me that question, and you're actually in the real estate business. So maybe you can help me out and we'll dialogue this answer. How is typically the value of a home determined?
Well, supply and demand is a huge part of that. And at the moment, there's a lot more demand than there's supply. And so it's overinflated at the moment. So I think we have, in Torrance in general, we do have a lot of properties that has large land or even some vacant buildings that is not being utilized. So perhaps we'll find a way to use those. And I know in the past, Torrance, like people like yourself from Torrance Councilmember talk about mixed uses. So that would be another way too to kind of house more people. So we have potentials out there, a lot of potential. We just have to be able to get through the NIMBYism.
Right. So I was thinking about, you're talking about house development. I was just thinking about take a house.
The value of a house right now, based on what the market is saying, the average price is roughly around, in our areas, like just over 600,000. And that's really overinflated, of course, because the average income is 75,000, and you need to make at least 25,000 to be able to afford that. So there's a disconnect there somehow.
I understand. I guess I was trying to see if you were going to get to the point where you say location, location, location. Oh. I thought that was the standard real estate response.
It is, except the location doesn't have enough houses. The demand there is too. It's not. There's more demand than we have inventory, and as long as it stays that way, we're just going a cycle.
Yeah. So let me share with you my philosophy. And when you say location, location, location. Earlier I shared with you about public safety. I call it the three big pillars. Mm-hmm. Safe environment, good school, I'm going to say good weather, if you will. because if it's, for a fair weather person like myself, that means something. You could be outdoor, have your activities, exercise. But to me, those are probably three factors determining if this house in this location, which is safe, good school, good weather, and maybe, a good shopping center like the mall, will probably make the value or the sale price point of this house at a certain level, compare it to another home which doesn't have as well, I'll say, safety, school, weather, and shopping. Then I'm assuming that price point of that house will probably be just a little bit lower. This is, would that be close to?
Yes, you could say in a normal market, yes. But unfortunately, it's not normal at the moment and hasn't been for some time.
So for a elected official, I don't think, I believe that the market dictates the value or the price of the home. I mean, and whenever someone talks about affordable housing, pricing, I come with my philosophy is this: you can't force someone who owns $1 million house to say you gotta sell your house for 800,000, right? Especially if that owner can demand that because of the location. And the way I look at it is, with the whole theme of public safety, with Silicon Valley, South Bay, and my vision of even introducing international youth summer Olympic games here, that provides an environment if a good place to live, good place to raise family, and higher paying jobs. I think that's the area which I would like to spend some of my brain cells to try to bring in to the city of Torrance, to look at the city of Torrance as a micronation, not just a city. We are so diverse and international folks who lives here. I'm assuming you may be from a certain country. I'm born in Taiwan. And we're from all over, and we're uniquely situated that we should be, marketing to international corporations to set up their corporate headquarters here, their factories here, their products here. And with technology innovation, we can get high-tech jobs here. They probably will have a better chance to have a higher salary. And there's no guarantee. If you have a higher salary, then you may have a higher probability of finding a home here. Because you really don't want a guy like me to be spending a few hours a day expending brain cells to see how I could devalue your home. Even if I tried to, I couldn't, right? The market really will demand the housing prices. I'd rather work on how can we provide an environment where folks will get higher paying jobs, and that will really help them. So I want to work the other end to get higher paying jobs in this area, as opposed to, oh, how do we, I don't think you even want me to spend a lot of brain cells how to bring your house down. I think that's how I see it. The working the problem and try to get higher paying jobs, to me, is a better path forward than working the other way. It's just like public safety. I'd rather work on, how do we get fathers and mothers to raise their kids, to be responsible, rather than, at the end where, you have an encounter with a law enforcement officer and you're trying to duke it out. I want to work the other end.
All right. Yes, that makes sense. Thank you for sharing that. And I should say congratulations on your run for mayor.
Oh, thank you very much. Hopefully, in about 12 or 13 months from now, it'll be a real congratulations. We're just getting into the race now. And, I have 3 years under my belt. By the time election comes, it'll be about 4 years. And I think hopefully the community sees, what my values are. And I've been pretty freely shared with you, agree or not to disagree, but, my values are pretty open. And, I'm always open for a healthy dialogue.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. So is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we go? Any thoughts, ideas?
No other thoughts. I think the community members have always been able to reach me if they have questions. A lot of time, social media, I'm not very strong at. You probably know this. Sometimes you might have sent me something on the Facebook message, and I might not even know I have one till a week or two later. That's not my first mode of communication. That's just not my personality. But if there's any issues or they want to talk with me, I'm more than willing to schedule time. Just like when you're applying for a commission, and I say, hey, we need to make time to talk. Let's do it. And face-to-face is my preferred choice. Phone call is second. Well, I guess nowadays Zoom would be second because the videos provides a little better communication channel. A phone call would be third. Email would probably be the last one. Because each layer is, you get less personal. And I really want to be able to communicate and see the whole body language. I'm blessed and honored that I have the opportunity to serve the people of Torrance. And hopefully they will grant me the opportunity to serve as their mayor. And if not, that's okay too. My manlyhood does not depend on being an elected official. I'm here to serve, and I serve at the pleasure of the people.
Thank you for that. And it's been a pleasure having you as a city councilman. And I wish you all the best in your run next year.
Thank you very much, Novelette.
And thanks again for talking to us. Again, it's been a pleasure.
Okay, take care.